The message came from a small blue planet on the edge of what the galaxy called the Outer Rim. Ambassador Zixtel stretched his long, pale fingers as he reviewed the transmission for the third time that day. His silver eyes moved across the holographic display. Watching images of strange bipedal creatures who called themselves humans, the transmission was beautiful in its simplicity. Mathematical sequences proved these beings understood basic universal concepts. Music filled with harmony and emotion showed they had culture. Art depicting their world revealed a species that appreciated beauty. Most impressive were the images of their planet Earth, covered in blue oceans and green continents, with white clouds swirling in peaceful patterns. "Another garden world species," muttered Counselor Velthar from across the chamber. The tall, blue-skinned diplomat barely looked up from his own work. They seemed pleasant enough. It's probably herbivores, like most civilized species. Zixtel nodded in agreement. In his 400 years of diplomatic service, he had encountered dozens of new species joining the galactic community. They all followed the same pattern. Peaceful evolution on stable worlds led to intelligence, then technology, then the desire to reach for the stars. These humans appeared to fit the template perfectly. The Hegemony Council chamber buzzed with quiet activity as representatives from 12 different species reviewed the human transmission. Most paid little attention to this routine first contact. New species joined the galactic community every few decades, usually bringing little more than curiosity and basic trade goods. "Their planet classification?" asked Zixtel to the chambers. "Central computer. Category C, standard carbon-based biosphere," came the mechanical reply. "Suitable for most known species with minimal environmental protection." Zixtel made notes on his personal datapad. The humans would fit well into the galactic community. Their transmission showed they valued peace, cooperation, and knowledge sharing. Their art suggested a gentle nature, while their music indicated emotional depth. They would probably excel in the sciences, or perhaps cultural exchange programs. Meanwhile, 3,000 light-years away, Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the stars streak past the view screen. As his ship traveled through hyperspace toward human history's first diplomatic mission to another species, "Final system checks complete, Commander," reported Chief Science Officer Lisa Chen from her station. The small Asian woman barely looked up from her displays, but Morrison could hear the excitement in her voice. "All systems showing green across the board." Morrison nodded to his science officer, then turned to survey his bridge crew. 200 souls aboard this ship, representing the best Earth had to offer: scientists, diplomats, engineers, and a small military escort led by Marine Captain Ryan Walsh. The whole world was watching their mission through quantum communication links. "Any word from Earth Command?" Morrison asked his communications officer. Last. "Transmission wishes us luck, sir," Lieutenant Sarah Brooks replied from the pilot station. "President Martinez sends his regards and reminds us that we represent all of humanity." The weight of responsibility settled on Morrison's shoulders like a familiar coat. At 45, he had commanded 3 deep space exploration missions and served as Earth's lead astronaut for over a decade. When the alien message arrived 2 years ago, every major government agreed that Morrison should lead humanity's response. The message had caused chaos on Earth for months. Religious leaders debated its implications. Scientists worked around the clock to decode every detail. Military commanders worried about threats. Politicians argued about response protocols. Through it all, Morrison had advocated for a peaceful, scientific approach to first contact. "How long until we reach the rendezvous point?" Morrison asked. 18 hours, sir," Brooks replied. "The alien coordinates are precise. We should drop out of hyperspace right on target." Morrison walked to the forward viewport and stared at the swirling colors of hyperspace. Tomorrow, he would meet beings from another world. The thought still amazed him, even after 2 years of preparation. Humanity was about to join a galactic community they had only dreamed about in science fiction stories. Dr. Elena Rodriguez entered the bridge, carrying a data tablet filled with xenobiology reports. The mission's lead scientist had spent months studying every detail of the alien transmission, trying to understand what they might encounter. "Commander, I have the final analysis of the alien physiology based on their transmission," Rodriguez said, handing him the tablet. "They appear to be tall, slender beings adapted to low-gravity environments. It's most likely evolved from herbivorous ancestors based on their facial structure and body proportions." Morrison scrolled through the data. The aliens in the transmission did look peaceful. Their large eyes suggested intelligence, while their delicate features indicated a species that had never needed to fight for survival. Their technology appeared clean and efficient, without the brutal practicality that marked human engineering. "Any concerns, Doctor?" Morrison asked. "Nothing major," Rodriguez replied. "They seem genuinely peaceful. Their invitation to visit their hub world suggests they welcome new species regularly. We should expect a routine diplomatic exchange." Captain Ryan Walsh entered the bridge, his combat boots clicking against the metal floor. The Marine officer carried himself with the controlled precision of a career soldier, but his expression was curious rather than suspicious. "Security briefing complete, Commander," Walsh reported. "My people are ready for a peaceful diplomatic mission. Standard protocols for protecting the delegation, nothing more." Morrison appreciated Walsh's calm approach. The Marine captain had argued against bringing heavy weapons or large security teams. Like everyone else, Walsh expected this first contact to be a friendly meeting between civilized species. "Good work, Captain," Morrison said. "Remember, we are ambassadors first, explorers second. These aliens have been spacefaring for thousands of years. We need to make a good impression." As the hours passed, excitement grew throughout the ship. Scientists prepared their equipment for studying alien technology. Diplomats rehearsed greeting protocols in multiple human languages, hoping to demonstrate Earth's cultural diversity. Engineers checked and rechecked every system, knowing that mechanical failures could embarrass humanity before their new galactic neighbors in the ship's mess hall. Crew members gathered to discuss what they might encounter. Stories circulated about the alien station called Nexus Prime, described in the transmission as a meeting place for dozens of species. The humans imagined a peaceful marketplace of ideas, where knowledge and culture flowed freely between worlds. Nobody aboard the UES Horizon knew that their home planet Earth was listed in classified alien databases as a Class 12 death world. Had no idea that their routine diplomatic mission would soon reveal humanity as something the galaxy had never encountered before. A species that had evolved intelligence not despite living in hell, but because of it. The Hegemony Council's invitation had been sent to what they assumed was another peaceful species from a garden world. Ambassador Zixtel expected to welcome gentle beings who would contribute art, philosophy, and perhaps some interesting scientific perspectives to galactic civilization. None of the aliens realized they had just invited apex predators to their most important diplomatic station. The humans, for their part, saw themselves as peaceful explorers, representing a world that finally overcome its violent past to reach for the stars. Both sides approached the meeting with genuine goodwill and completely wrong assumptions about what they would find. The stage was set for first contact between a galaxy of prey species and the most successful persistence hunters in known space. As the EU's Horizon dropped out of hyperspace near Nexus Prime 18 hours later, Commander Morrison looked out at the massive alien station and smiled. He had no way of knowing that his peaceful diplomatic mission was about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The UES Horizon docked with Nexus Prime at exactly 0800 hours ship time. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the airlock, adjusting his dress uniform one final time before stepping into galactic history. Behind him, Chief Science Officer Lisa Chen carried a case of gifts from Earth, while Marine Captain Ryan Walsh maintained a respectful distance with two of his security personnel. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, revealing a corridor that took Morrison's breath away. The walls curved gracefully upward, made of some translucent material that glowed with soft blue light. Delicate patterns flowed across the surfaces like living art, shifting and changing as they watched. Ambassador Zixtel waited to greet them. flanked by representatives from 6 other species. The alien diplomat stood nearly 8 feet tall, his pale skin almost luminescent under the station's lighting. His silver eyes were twice the size of human eyes, set in a face that seemed carved from ivory. When he moved, it was with the careful grace of someone who had never needed to hurry anywhere in his life. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Zixtel said, his voice musical and soft. A translation device on his chest converted his words into perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zixtel of the Hegemony Council. We are honored to receive your delegation."
Morrison
Stepped forward and offered a firm handshake, a gesture that made several aliens step backward in surprise. Zixtel looked down at the human's extended hand with curiosity, then carefully extended his own long, delicate fingers. When Morrison gripped the alien's hand, Zixtel's eyes widened at the strength of the human's grasp. "Thank you for your welcome, Ambassador," Morrison replied. "I am Commander Jake Morrison, representing the United Earth Government. We are grateful for this opportunity to meet our galactic neighbors." The formal introductions continued as each member of the human delegation met their alien counterparts. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the mission's xenobiologist, barely concealed her excitement as she studied each new species. The aliens were all tall and elegant, with features that spoke of peaceful evolution on worlds where survival was never a concern. The Valkyrie delegation resembled giant praying mantises, but with skin like polished emerald. Geltani looked almost human except for their blue skin and the delicate gills that fluttered along their necks. Each species moved with the same careful precision, as if sudden movements were foreign concepts. "Your journey must have been difficult," said Counselor Velthor, the blue-skinned diplomat Morrison had seen in the transmission recordings. "Traveling between stars requires great endurance." Captain Walsh stepped forward with a slight smile. "Actually, sir, the trip was quite comfortable. Our crew found the 3-month journey rather relaxing." The aliens exchanged glances. Most species required extended periods of medical treatment after interstellar travel. The physical and mental stress of long space voyages was considered one of the great challenges of galactic civilization. Yet these humans spoke of a 3-month journey as if it were a pleasant vacation. The welcome ceremony took place in a vast chamber at the heart of Nexus Prime. Crystalline artworks floated in the air, suspended by anti-gravity fields. Was a masterwork, created by different species over thousands of years. The largest sculpture dominated the center of the room, a complex arrangement of glowing crystal formations that stood nearly 20 feet tall. "These gifts represent the finest achievements of our member species," Zixtel explained, gesturing toward the floating artworks. "Each piece requires specialized handling equipment due to their mass and delicate construction, as tradition demanded. Each delegation was invited to move one of the artworks as a gesture of respect." The aliens watched as mechanical arms extended from the floor, designed to safely manipulate objects that most species could not handle directly. Morrison approached a medium-sized sculpture, a beautiful spiral of blue crystal that pulsed with inner light. Information display showed its mass as 847 pounds. Looked around for the mechanical assistants, then noticed that Lieutenant Colonel Ben Harper was already examining the piece with professional interest. "Beautiful work," Harper commented, running his hands along the crystal surface. "The mineral composition is fascinating." Without thinking, he lifted the sculpture from its platform and turned it slightly to examine the base. The chamber fell. Silent. Every alien in the room stared as the human casually held nearly half a ton of crystal artwork in his bare hands. Harper, oblivious to the reaction he had caused, continued his examination of the piece. "The craftsmanship is incredible," Harper said to Dr. Rodriguez. "Look at how they've aligned the crystal matrix to create that internal light pattern." Rodriguez nodded, equally fascinated by the technical achievement. She reached out to touch the sculpture, and Harper shifted his grip to accommodate her examination. Together, they studied the artwork as if it weighed no more than a book. Zixtel's translator device made small clicking sounds as it struggled to process the alien diplomats. Shocked whispers. Counselor Velthor's gills fluttered rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. The mechanical handling arms retracted into the floor, suddenly unnecessary. How, double quotes. Zixtel finally managed to speak. How are you lifting that without assistance? Harper looked up, confused by the question. Sir, it's not that heavy. About 400 kilos, right? I can manage that without trouble. The alien delegation erupted in whispers. 400 kilograms was beyond the physical capability of any known species except empowered exoskeletons. Yet this human lifted it as easily as they might lift a flower. Captain Walsh stepped forward, sensing the tension in the room. Is there a problem, Ambassador? Lieutenant Colonel Harper served as our mission's archaeology specialist. He's experienced in handling delicate artifacts. Your archaeology specialist Zixtel repeated slowly. What manner of archaeological sites does he normally work with? Oh, the usual, Harper replied, carefully setting the sculpture back on its platform. Underwater excavations, mountain dig sites, cave systems, and where human civilization left traces. Most of my work involves moving heavy stone blocks and metal artifacts. The alien stared at Harper as if he had just claimed to juggle stars. Underwater work required specialized equipment for most species. Mountain excavations were nearly impossible due to the extreme conditions. Cave exploration was considered one of the most dangerous occupations in the galaxy. Dr. Rodriguez noticed the alien's reaction and tried to ease the tension. Lieutenant Colonel Harper is quite modest about his achievements. He's led archaeological expeditions in some of Earth's most challenging environments: desert excavations, polar research sites, deep ocean surveys. Each location Rodriguez mentioned sent fresh waves of shock through the alien delegation. Desert worlds were classified as hostile environments. Polar regions were considered uninhabitable by most galactic standards. Deep ocean work required the most advanced life support systems available. Engineer Maria Santos entered the chamber carrying a toolkit, having been summoned to examine the station's docking systems. The young woman moved with the confident stride of someone comfortable in any mechanical environment. When she noticed the gathering, she approached Morrison to report her findings. Commander, I've completed the inspection of our docking interface, Santos reported. The alien systems are impressively sophisticated, but they seem designed for much lighter vessels. I've reinforced our connection points to prevent any strain on their equipment. Zixtel's translator clicked rapidly. You, reinforced our docking systems?
Yes, sir,
Santos replied cheerfully. Your engineers did excellent work, but human ships are built heavier than your standard vessels. I didn't want our mass to damage your beautiful station. Alien engineers in the delegation looked at each other with growing alarm. Human ships were heavier than their standards? The UES Horizon had seemed relatively small when it approached the station. If it was heavier than expected, what did that say about human construction techniques? As the welcome ceremony continued, more subtle signs of human physical capability emerged. The delegation moved through corridors that required most alien species to use mobility assistance due to the station's rotation creating artificial gravity. The humans walked normally, their stride confident and natural. When they reached the observation deck, the view of space was breathtaking. Stars stretched in all directions, while alien ships of various designs docked at the station's multiple ports. Morrison and his team admired the vista, but none showed the signs of vertigo or spatial disorientation that affected most species when confronted with the vastness of space. Captain Walsh positioned his security personnel at discrete intervals, a routine precaution that nonetheless demonstrated human awareness of their surroundings. The Marines moved with the controlled precision of trained soldiers, but their alertness was casual and natural. They scanned crowds and exits, not from paranoia, but from habit. The aliens began to notice that humans never seemed to rest, while other species required frequent breaks during the extended ceremony. The human delegation remained energetic and focused. Their attention never wavered, their questions were precise, and their interest in everything around them was intense. As the day progressed, a growing sense of unease spread through the alien delegation. 3 days after the human arrival, Ambassador Zixtel called an emergency session of the Hegemony Council. The elegant chamber filled with representatives from 12 species, all buzzing with nervous energy. The humans had spent those 3 days touring Nexus Prime, and each encounter had raised more questions about their true nature. "We have a situation," Zixtel announced, his silver eyes reflecting the chamber's soft lighting. "These humans are not what they appear to be. Yesterday, one of their engineers repaired a plasma conduit leak using only basic tools. The radiation levels should have killed any known species within seconds." Counselor Velthor leaned forward, his blue skin pale with concern. "Our security recordings show their military escort moving through the station's lower levels without breathing apparatus. Those areas are considered hazardous due to atmospheric density." Admiral Kithara, the Hegemony's top military commander, studied the reports on her data screen. Her species resembled tall, graceful birds with silver feathers and bright yellow eyes. "I have reviewed their ship's construction data. The EU's Horizon is built like a fortress. Its hull plating is 3 times thicker than our battleships." The council members exchanged worried glances. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, they had never encountered a species that seemed so casually capable of surviving conditions that challenged their most advanced technology. "I propose a test," Admiral Kaitara continued. "Have a situation that requires immediate attention. A research team is stranded on Kepler 440c, waiting for extraction. Perhaps our human guests would like to observe a routine rescue operation." Zixtel's eyes narrowed. Kepler 440c was no routine rescue site. The planet served as a training ground for the Hegemony's elite military units. Its extreme weather, dangerous wildlife, and crushing gravity made it one of the most challenging worlds in their territory. Most species required full environmental suits and heavy mechanical support just to survive on the surface. "An excellent suggestion," Zixtel replied. "We will present it as an opportunity for our guests to observe Hegemony military procedures. A learning experience." 6 hours later, Commander Morrison stood in the briefing room aboard the Hegemony vessel Aurora's Edge, listening as Admiral Kithara explained the mission. The holographic display showed a hostile-looking world of red rocks, purple vegetation, and violent storms. "Kepler 440c presents some challenges," the Admiral explained, her translated voice carefully neutral. "The gravity is 1.3 times standard, and the atmosphere requires breathing assistance for most species. Our research team has been stranded there for 2 days due to equipment failure."
Doctor.
Elena Rodriguez studied the planetary data with professional interest. "The gravity differential is significant, but manageable. What about the local wildlife?" Admiral Kithara hesitated before answering. "There are some predatory species. Nothing our extraction team cannot handle with proper equipment." Captain Ryan Walsh examined the tactical displays, noting the heavy weaponry and armor designated for the rescue team. "Admiral, this seems like a complex operation. Are you certain you don't need additional support?" "It's quite certain," Kithara replied quickly. "This is routine for our forces. You are welcome to observe from orbit." Commander Morrison stepped forward. "With respect, Admiral, we would prefer to participate directly. Our crew has experience with challenging environments. Perhaps a small human team could assist your ground forces." The Admiral's yellow eyes widened. No species had ever volunteered to visit Kepler 440c without extensive preparation and life support equipment. "Commander, I appreciate your offer, but this world is quite dangerous for unprepared visitors." "We understand the risks," Morrison replied calmly. "Captain Walsh, select a small team for ground support." Walsh nodded and activated his communicator. "Sergeant Amy Foster, Dr. Kevin Stone, report to the briefing room. Full field gear." Within minutes, the 2 humans arrived carrying equipment, packs that seemed remarkably light compared to the massive suits worn by the alien rescue team. Sergeant Foster was a compact woman with the confident bearing of a veteran soldier. Dr. Stone, the mission's field medic, carried medical supplies in a backpack that would have required mechanical assistance for most species to lift. The descent to Kepler 440c took place in a heavily shielded transport. Designed to protect its occupants from the planet's electromagnetic storms, the alien rescue team spent the journey checking and rechecking their environmental suits, while the humans sat quietly, reviewing mission parameters on handheld devices. When the transport landed, the humans were the first to exit. They stepped onto the planet's surface wearing only standard environmental gear, breathing masks, and light combat armor. The gravity that forced the alien soldiers to move carefully seemed to have no effect on them at all. Sergeant Foster surveyed the landscape. With professional interest, red rock formations jutted from purple grasslands under a sky filled with angry clouds. Lightning crackled overhead, and the air hummed with electromagnetic energy. "Reminds me of Arizona during monsoon season," Foster commented to Dr. Stone. "A bit more colorful, though." The alien rescue team emerged from the transport wearing full environmental suits that doubled their size and weight. They moved carefully, their equipment helping them cope with the planet's challenging conditions. Admiral Kitahara watched through her command display as the humans began walking across terrain that required her soldiers to use mechanical assistance. The stranded research team was located 12 kilometers from the landing site, across broken terrain that included river crossings and steep rock faces. The alien soldiers struggled with every obstacle, their heavy equipment making movement difficult despite its protective benefits. The humans moved easily over the same ground. When they reached the first river, Sergeant Foster simply waded across, her light armor providing sufficient protection against the acidic water. Dr. Stone followed, carrying his medical pack above his head to keep it dry. "How are they doing?" that Admiral Kitahara whispered to her tactical officer. The river's acidity should have eaten through standard armor within minutes. Halfway to the research site, the team encountered Kepler 4 for 2C's Apex Predator. The creature emerged from a cave system, resembling a cross between Earth's extinct saber-toothed tigers and modern bears. It stood 8 feet tall at the shoulder, with claws like sword blades and teeth designed for tearing through armor. The alien soldiers immediately formed a defensive circle, bringing their heavy weapons to bear. The creature was a legendary threat. Responsible for the loss of several elite units over the years, standard protocol required overwhelming firepower to drive it away. Sergeant Foster stepped between the alien soldiers and the predator, drawing her sidearm with casual confidence. The weapon was small compared to the aliens' massive energy rifles, designed for reliability rather than raw power. "Easy there, big guy," Foster said softly, her voice carrying clearly through the CUM system. The predator paused, perhaps confused. By her lack of fear, it never encountered prey that approached rather than fled. The creature lunged with the speed of a striking snake, covering 30 feet in less than 2 seconds. Foster stepped aside with fluid grace, her movement so smooth it seemed almost lazy. As the predator passed her, she placed 3 shots precisely behind its massive head. The beast collapsed instantly, its nervous system shut down by projectiles that delivered kinetic energy with surgical precision. The entire encounter lasted less than 5 seconds. The alien soldiers stared in shocked silence. Their most feared planetary threat had been dispatched by a single human using a weapon they would have considered inadequate for hunting small game. "Target neutralized," Foster reported calmly, holstering her sidearm. "Path is clear to proceed." Dr. Stone knelt beside the fallen creature, examining it with scientific interest. Fascinating bone structure. The skeletal system is designed for incredible strength, but the neural pathways are relatively simple, efficient design for a high-gravity predator. The rescue proceeded without further incident. When they reached the stranded research team, they found 3 alien scientists huddled in an emergency shelter, their equipment destroyed by the planet's harsh conditions. 2 were injured, suffering from exposure and shock. Dr. Stone immediately began treating the wounded. Working with medical equipment that seemed primitive compared to the aliens' advanced systems, yet his field medicine proved more effective than their sophisticated devices. Within minutes, he had stabilized both patients and prepared them for transport. The return journey required carrying the injured researchers across the same difficult terrain. The alien soldiers struggled with the additional burden, their powered armor straining under the load. Dr. Stone simply lifted one of the patients and began walking. Carrying the alien scientist as easily as a child, Sergeant Foster took point, guiding the group through the safest route while scanning for additional threats. Her awareness of the environment was constant and natural, a predator's instinct that kept the entire team safe. The alarms began wailing at 0347 station time, their piercing sound echoing through every corridor of Nexus Prime. Commander Jake Morrison jerked awake in his guest quarters, instantly alert despite the early hour. Years of military training had taught him to recognize the difference between routine alerts and genuine emergencies. The emergency lighting cast red shadows across the walls as Morrison quickly dressed and headed for the command center. In the corridors, he passed alien civilians fleeing toward escape pods, their faces filled with terror. Whatever was happening, it was serious enough to trigger a full evacuation. He found Admiral Kithara in the station's main control room, her silver feathers ruffled with stress as she coordinated defensive preparations. Her yellow eyes were wide with fear as she studied tactical displays showing the space around Nexus Prime. "Commander Morrison," she said when she noticed him enter, "you should evacuate with the other civilians. You're about to face the Void Hunters." Morrison had heard whispers about the Void Hunters during his stay on the station. They were the galaxy's most feared raiders, a species that emerged from dark space to attack peaceful settlements. No military force had ever successfully repelled their attacks. "Admiral, the UES Horizon has a full crew standing ready," Morrison offered. "Perhaps we can assist in the defense." Kithara's translator clicked as she processed his words. "Commander, I appreciate your courage, but the Void Hunters have never been defeated. Our best strategy is evacuation while our military forces delay their advance." Through the command center's main view screen, Morrison could see alien warships taking defensive positions around the station. The vessels were elegant and sophisticated, designed for peacekeeping rather than warfare. Their weapons appeared to be precision instruments, built for surgical strikes rather than brutal combat. Captain Ryan Walsh arrived with Sergeant Amy Foster and Lieutenant Sarah Brooks, all fully armed and ready for action. The Marines had responded to the emergency alarms with the automatic efficiency of soldiers who had trained for combat their entire careers. "Situation report, Commander," Walsh asked, his eyes already studying the tactical displays. "Unknown hostiles inbound," Morrison replied. "The station is preparing for evacuation." Brooks moved to one of the alien control stations, her pilot's instincts drawing her to the navigation displays. "Sir, I'm reading massive ships dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge. They're bigger than anything in the alien fleet." The main view screen shifted to show the approaching threat. The Void Hunter ships were dark, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with predatory grace, like sharks circling wounded prey, even at extreme range. Their hostile intent was unmistakable. Admiral Kithara watched her fleet take defensive positions with the resignation of someone who had seen this scenario play out before. The Void Hunters evolved on a world almost as hostile as she paused, her yellow eyes suddenly focusing on Morrison with new understanding. "Almost as hostile as what, Admiral?" Morrison asked quietly. "As hostile as your Earth," she finished, her voice barely above a whisper. "Commander, I need to ask you directly. What kind of world did your species evolve on?" Morrison considered his answer carefully. Earth had always seemed normal to humans, but he was beginning to understand that normal was a relative concept in galactic terms. "Earth is challenging," he admitted. "We have extreme weather, dangerous wildlife, and frequent natural disasters. Our ancestors had to adapt to survive." The Admiral's feathers flattened against her head, a sign of deep distress among her species. "Commander, the Void Hunters are the only species we know that evolved under truly hostile conditions. They are natural killers, adapted for warfare and conquest. If your Earth is similar, the implications hung in the air like a physical presence." Morrison realized that the galaxy's peaceful species had never encountered anything like humanity, because nothing like humanity had ever existed in their experience. "Admiral Morrison," said firmly, "request permission to engage the enemy alongside your forces." Kithara stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Mission granted. May the universe forgive us for what we are about to unleash." 20 minutes later, the UES Horizon undocked from Nexus Prime and moved to join the alien defensive fleet. The human ship looked small and primitive compared to the elegant alien vessels, but Morrison had confidence in his crew and their equipment. Brooks took the pilot's seat with the focused intensity of someone born to fly. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced ease, bringing the ship's weapons online and preparing for combat maneuvers. "All stations report ready, Commander," reported Chief Science Officer Lisa Chen from her position at the sensor array. "Shields at maximum, weapons charged, all systems showing green." The Void Hunter fleet approached with overwhelming force. Dozens of dark ships spread across space like a plague, their weapons already charging for the first strike. Morrison had faced enemy fleets before, but never anything that radiated such pure malevolence. "Enemy fleet entering weapons range," Chen reported. "They're targeting the evacuation ships first." Morrison's jaw clenched. Attacking civilians was a war crime by any standard, human or alien. "All hands, battle stations." "Lieutenant Brooks, take us into the fight." The UES Horizon accelerated toward the enemy with a speed that surprised the alien observers. Human ships were built for reliability in harsh conditions, with engines designed to function in the chaotic gravity fields and radiation storms of Earth's solar system. What the aliens saw as primitive construction was actually brutal efficiency. The first exchange of fire lit up space with deadly energy. The Void Hunter weapons were powerful and precise, designed to cripple enemy ships quickly. But they had never faced anything built to human standards. The alien ships in the defensive fleet began taking heavy damage immediately. Their elegant hulls were not designed to absorb the brutal punishment of sustained combat. Within minutes, 3 vessels were destroyed, and 2 more were crippled. The UES Horizon charged directly through the enemy formation, its thick armor plating deflecting hits that would have destroyed any alien ship. Brooks flew with the aggressive confidence of a fighter pilot, using maneuvers that should have been impossible for a ship of the Horizon's size. "How are they moving like that?" Admiral Kithara whispered from the station's command center, watching in amazement as the human ship twisted through space like a living thing. Engineer Danny Clark worked furiously in the ship's engine room, maintaining power systems under combat conditions that would have shut down most vessels. Sparks flew around him as he rerouted power and repaired battle damage. Working in an environment that would have been lethal to most species, the human weapons, considered primitive by galactic standards, proved devastatingly effective against Void Hunter ships. Where alien weapons were designed for precision strikes, human weapons were built for raw, destructive power. Each hit from the Horizon's guns sent shockwaves through enemy hulls. Dr. Kevin Stone moved through the ship's corridors, treating wounded crew members under combat conditions. The ship bucked and rolled under enemy fire, but Stone worked with the steady hands of someone who had performed surgery during earthquakes and hurricanes. The Void Hunters, accustomed to easy victories against peaceful species, found themselves facing an opponent who fought with terrifying intensity. The human ship seemed to absorb damage that should have been crippling, while delivering punishment that tore through their dark holes. "Their ship is still fighting," the Void Hunter fleet commander transmitted to his vessels, his voice filled with confusion. "How is this possible? We have hit them dozens of times." Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display as his ship carved through the enemy formation. Around him, his crew worked with the focused efficiency of Apex predators, each person performing their role with deadly precision. "Target their command ship," Morrison ordered. "Lieutenant Brooks, take us in close." Brooks grinned, her pilot's instincts fully engaged. "Aye, sir," ramming speed. The UES Horizon accelerated directly toward the largest Void Hunter vessel, its weapons firing continuously. The enemy ship tried to evade, but human reflexes and human technology proved superior to anything the raiders had countered. The final exchange lasted only seconds. The human ship's main guns punched through the Void Hunter command vessel's armor like paper, causing a cascade of explosions that tore the enemy ship apart from within. With their command ship destroyed, the remaining Void Hunter vessels began to retreat. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the feared raiders had been defeated in direct combat as the enemy fleet disappeared into hyperspace. Admiral Kithara stared at her displays in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. A single human ship had broken the Void Hunter formation and saved Nexus Prime. "Commander Morrison," she transmitted to the UES Horizon, "please report to the station immediately. The Hegemony Council requires an emergency session." Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew, all of whom showed the satisfied expressions of soldiers who had done their job well. None of them realized they had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The emergency session of the Hegemony Council convened 2 hours after the Void Hunter retreat. Commander Jake Morrison entered the chamber to find representatives from every major species in the galaxy gathered around the curved table. There, faces showed a mixture of awe, fear, and desperate curiosity. Ambassador Zixtel stood at the center of the chamber, his pale skin almost glowing under the soft lights. In his long fingers, he held a data tablet containing information that would reshape galactic civilization. "Commander Morrison," Zixtal began, his musical voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems, "we owe you and your crew a debt that cannot be repaid. The Void Hunters have terrorized the galaxy for 3,000 years. Today, for the first time, they fled from battle." Morrison nodded respectfully, but he could sense underlying tension in the alien diplomat's words. "We were honored to assist, Ambassador. Our species believes in defending those who cannot defend themselves." A ripple of whispers spread through the assembled delegates. The concept of one species defending another without expecting payment or territory was foreign to most. Galactic cultures. Admiral Kithara stepped forward, her yellow eyes bright with a mixture of gratitude and concern. "Commander, we must discuss your species' true nature. The classified databases have been opened, and what we found changes everything." She activated the chamber's main holographic display, showing a three-dimensional image of Earth floating in space. The beautiful blue and green world looked peaceful and inviting, but data streams began appearing around it in alien script. "Planet Earth," Admiral Kithara continued, "is classified as a Class 12 death world in our xenological databases. This classification was made by automated survey probes 300 years ago, but we never expected intelligent life to evolve. Under such conditions," Morrison felt his stomach tighten. "What exactly does Class 12 mean, Admiral?" Dr. Alina Rodriguez had joined the human delegation, and she stepped forward with scientific curiosity, overriding her diplomatic caution. "I would like to understand your classification system as well." Zixtel touched his tablet, and the holographic display changed to show a scale with various planetary types. Class 1 worlds are garden paradises with stable climates and peaceful evolution. Most intelligent species evolve on Class 3 or 4 worlds. Class 5 is considered challenging. The scale continued upward, showing increasingly hostile environments. At Class 12, the description made Morrison's blood run cold. Extreme weather variations, massive predators, frequent extinction events, toxic atmosphere periods, and gravitational anomalies. Only 12 worlds in the known galaxy are classified as Class 12, Admiral Kithara explained. "We assumed that complex life was impossible on such planets. The idea that intelligence could evolve under those conditions was beyond our understanding." Counselor Velthar leaned forward, his blue skin pale with shock. "Commander, your species evolved on a world where survival required constant adaptation to lethal threats. You are, by definition, the most successful predatory species the galaxy has ever encountered." The weight of this revelation settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Morrison looked around at the alien faces, seeing fear and wonder in equal measure. These peaceful beings had spent millennia building a civilization based on cooperation and gentle evolution. Now, they faced the products of evolutionary warfare. Dr. Rodriguez found her scientific voice first. "Our evolution was shaped by challenge, yes. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and predators that could kill us easily. But we also developed cooperation, art, and philosophy." "They're not monsters?" "No," Zixtel agreed quickly. "You are something we never imagined possible. Warriors who chose to become philosophers, predators who developed compassion, killers who create beauty." Captain Ryan Walsh had been standing quietly near the chamber entrance, but now he spoke with the calm authority of a professional soldier. Every human is taught from childhood that strength exists to protect the weak. Our military forces swear oaths to defend those who cannot defend themselves. The alien delegates exchanged glances filled with wonder. In their experience, apex predators conquered and dominated. The concept of predators who chose to protect was revolutionary. Admiral Kithara activated another display, showing tactical analysis of the recent battle. Your ship, the UES Horizon, absorbed damage that should have destroyed it 10 times over. Your crew worked under conditions that would incapacitate most species. Your weapons, while primitive by our standards, delivered devastating results. Lieutenant Sarah Brooks stepped forward with a pilot's practical perspective. Admiral, our ship was built to operate in Earth's solar system. We have radiation storms, asteroid fields, and gravitational anomalies that make space travel dangerous. What you call primitive, we call reliable. Engineer Danny Clark nodded in agreement. Human engineering is designed for the worst possible conditions. Our equipment has to work when everything else fails. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Humanity had not developed advanced technology despite their hostile world. They had developed it because of their hostile world. Every human tool, weapon, and vehicle was built to function under extreme conditions. Dr. Kevin Stone, the mission's medic, added his perspective. Human medicine is practiced under battlefield conditions. We learn to treat injuries while under fire, to perform surgery during natural disasters, to save lives when proper equipment is not available. Sergeant Amy Foster spoke with the quiet confidence of a veteran warrior. Human military training assumes that everything will go wrong. We prepare for the worst scenarios because on Earth, the worst scenarios happen regularly. The alien delegates began to understand the scope of what they were facing. Humans were not just physically superior. They were mentally adapted for crisis. Trained from birth to function when systems failed and conditions became impossible. Ambassador Zixtel set down his tablet and looked directly at Morrison. Commander, your species represents something the galaxy has never seen. You are survivors, who became civilized without losing your survival instincts. You are warriors who chose peace, without forgetting how to fight. Morrison felt the weight of representation on his shoulders. His next words would shape humanity's relationship with the galaxy for generations to come. Ambassador, we have learned that peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of justice. We offer our strength to preserve what you have built, not to conquer it. The chamber erupted in whispers as translators worked to convey concepts that had no equivalent. In most galactic languages, the idea of strength serving justice rather than self-interest challenged fundamental assumptions about predatory behavior. Counselor Velthor stood slowly, his tall frame trembling with emotion. For 3,000 years, we have cowered before the Void Hunters. Today, one human ship sent them fleeing. What you offer us is not just protection, but hope. Admiral Kithara moved to the chamber's center, her posture formal and ceremonial. The Hegemony Council recognizes humanity as a sovereign species and welcomes Earth into the galactic community. More than that, we request the establishment of a mutual defense alliance. She paused, looking around the chamber at her fellow representatives. We propose the creation of the Terran Defense Corps, with human leadership training our combined forces in defensive warfare. Unanimously, though, Morrison could see that some delegates were still processing the magnitude of what they were agreeing to. They were inviting apex predators to train their children, trusting monsters to guard their homes. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward as the mission's cultural specialist. We accept your offer of alliance, but with conditions, human military advisors. We'll train your forces in defensive tactics only. We will not participate in wars of conquest or aggression. Our strength serves only to protect. Zixtel nodded solemnly. These terms are acceptable. We have no desire for conquest, only for the security to continue our peaceful development. As the formal ceremonies concluded and treaties were signed, Morrison reflected on the strange turn of events. Humanity had come to the stars seeking knowledge and friendship. Instead, they had found a galaxy full of children who needed guardians. 6 months later, Marl Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Use Guardian, flagship of the Terran Defense Corps. Around him, human and alien officers worked side by side, learning from each other's strengths. The galaxy had changed. Peaceful species could now develop their arts and sciences without fear of raiders. Trade. Routes that had been abandoned due to piracy were reopening. Exploration missions ventured into regions previously considered too dangerous. Morrison watched through the view screen as mixed-species patrol fleets conducted training exercises. Human ships with their brutal efficiency worked alongside elegant alien vessels with their sophisticated sensors. The combination was more effective than either could achieve alone. Captain Lisa Newman, the mission's original cultural attaché, approached with the latest reports from Earth. Admiral, the United Nations has approved the establishment of 3 more Defense Corps academies. Applications from alien species are already exceeding capacity.